Hey, yo, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. This is Smart TCG, and today I'm going to be going over Regidrago VSTAR in the Prismatic Evolutions format. Regidrago VSTAR for the past few months has been widely considered one of, if not the best decks in the standard format. However, with Prismatic Evolutions, there are some question marks on whether or not the deck is going to be able to remain at the top of the metagame. With cards like the Budew that is going to be releasing, there are some concerns that the deck is going to struggle to the item lock. However, if you do make some adjustments to the list, you will be able to handle it just fine. Today, I'm going to be going over how I would personally build the deck. So with that being said, if you enjoy the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and let's hop right into it. Alrighty, hopping into the Pokemon here, we have 3 Regidrago V and 3 Regidrago V-Star. No change to the Regidrago V-Star line. 3-3 feels like the perfect count. Regidrago V-Star is a 280 HP Dragon-type Pokemon with that Apex Dragon attack, which allows you to choose an attack from a Dragon Pokemon in your discard pile and use it as this attack. So the goal of this deck is to get lots of powerful Dragon-type attackers into the discard pile and then use that Apex Dragon. You also got Legacy Star, which is your V-Star power, which allows you to discard the top 7 cards of your deck, and you choose 2 cards from your discard pile, put them into your hand. Great to get specific cards out of the discard pile that you need to get your Pokemon set up or potentially finish games. We also got 3 Teal Mass Ogerpon, no change to the line of Regidrago or the Ogerpon. 3-3-3 split seems perfect. Teal Mass Ogerpon with that Teal Dance, allowing you to attach those energies onto the Ogerpon and then use the Energy Switch to move it onto the Regidrago. Also got the attack Myriad Leaf Shower, very good attack versus things like Charizard, being able to take down Charizard EX in one hit. Next up here for Dragapult, we do play 2 Dragapult EX. This deck oftentimes used to play 1 and the Alolan Exeggutor. However, moving forward into the Prismatic Evolutions format, there are a lot more evolution decks. For example, decks like Dragapult are going to see a surge in popularity. Gardevoir as well, Archelon too. A lot of decks that are really heavily built around evolution Pokemon. So something like the Exeggutor is just not as good anymore in this format. So instead, I have 2 Dragapult EX with that Phantom Dive, being able to deal 200 damage and then put 6 damage counters on your opponent's bench Pokemon in any way you like. Next up here, we got some of the one prizers. Nothing really changes here. We have Cleffa, Radiant Charizard, and Kyurem, all very good in their own right. Cleffa, great to hide behind in the early game with that Grasping Draw. Radiant Charizard, great to finish off games. Also very good versus those turbo decks at all points in the game. And then Kyurem as well with that Trifrost, being able to take 6 prize cards in one turn in some situations, wipe your opponent's board if they don't have, something like the Manaphy. Very, very good attacker, but you have to be careful when using it. Next up here, we have one of support Pokemon as well as some of the one of attackers. We have Giratina VSTAR, Fezandipiti, the Hisuian, Goodra, Squawkabilly, and X. Next up here, we have a new face in the deck, and that is going to be Latias EX. Now, one of the concerns about Regidrago that sometimes pops up is if they're able to use the Budew's Itchy Pollen to be able to lock something in the active. And if they're able to lock something in the active, you don't have access to things like Prime Catcher or Switch or your energy switches to attach and then retreat. So your Pokemon can just get stuck, and that will give them time to set up their board state. Not anymore. Now with Latias EX, you will have free retreat on all of your basic Pokemon in play, which is really, really nice, meaning that they can't lock a Pokemon in the active spot. So this card makes a lot of sense in this deck. Also just, helps out in situations where you start off with things like Radiant Charizard or something like the Kyurem. Next up here, we also do play a one of Budew as well with that attack that deals 10 damage for 0 energies, and during your opponent's next turn, they can't play any item cards from their hand. This is a very, very good attack if you are going second to be able to slow your opponent down, get an energy onto one of your Regidragos, and pretty much make it so that you should almost always be able to get off a Regidrago attack on the next turn and not worry about it getting knocked out heading into your opponent's turn. Being able to turn off things like Prime Catcher is really good, especially against those turbo decks. If you're able to push up a Budew, item lock, let's say a Raging Bolt deck, then they can't use Sadas and a Prime Catcher, in the same turn. Really, really powerful, and you can start that 2 prize trade. So just being able to item lock is great. Also very good in the mirror match, just being able to slow them down. Kind of depends. You have some, situations where you might be wondering, hey, should I use the Budew or should you be, using the Cleffa? It kind of depends on the situation. If your hand is relatively weak, then you might want to hide behind something like the Cleffa. But if you have a reasonable hand heading into that next turn, then getting something like the item lock can be really, really good. Next up here are the trainer cards. We got 4 Professor's Research. Feels completely standard. Makes a lot of sense to play heavy research in this deck as we're trying to get those Dragon Pokemon into the discard pile, discard your hand, and draw 7 cards. Next up, 3 Iono as well. Some lists in the past used to play 2. However, I think 3 definitely makes a lot of sense right now, especially because item lock is going to be such an important thing in the format. So playing more supporters is really, really important. Next up here, we got 2 Boss's Orders as well. Great just to, switch your opponent's Pokemon, which is really nice. Great board control. 2 feels totally fine. I have considered 3 in the past, but I think 2 is sufficient. Next up here for the ball search, we have 4 Ultra Ball and 4 Nest Ball. Straightforward, very consistent. You want to play heavy counts of Ultra Ball just to be able to get those Dragon-type Pokemon into the discard pile, and then 4 Nest Ball for that consistency, being able to fill up your board as quickly as possible. And then the rest of some of the 4-Abs, we have 4 Earthen Vessel and 4 Energy Switch. I still personally like 4 Energy Switch. I know some people have been considering maybe like cutting down that count a little bit, but I don't think Budew is going to be the biggest problem for the stack. I think that it's not going to completely shut it down, and there's going to be situations where if you're able to work around the Budew, then you're going to really want to have 4 Energy Switch, especially also versus the decks that don't play the Budew. If you are only playing 2 Energy Switch or 3 Energy Switch, then it's going to be a lot harder to find those at the right time. So I still think 4 is important, as I don't think the Budew is the biggest problem for this deck, but yeah, I think just like 4 overall feels pretty good. But it can feel, sometimes rough if you draw into a bunch of them at the beginning of the game and then they item lock you, but I think it's still worth the risk. Next up here, we got the recovery and the A spec. We got 2 Super Rod, 1 Prime Catcher, no changes from previous formats. 2 Super Rod, great to be able to get those energies and Pokemon back into the deck, and then Prime Catcher, in my opinion, is the strongest A spec to play in Regidrago, just to be able to, force things up into the active. Also provides a switch card as well. It's a Boss's Orders as an item card, and you also get to retreat as well. Great. Next up here, we got the Stadium. We got 1 Jamming Tower. I considered playing Pokestop in this deck, but Pokestop doesn't necessarily work great in a heavy item lock format, as you will Pokestop into the items and then you can't actually play them. So I still think that Jamming Tower is the strongest Stadium to play. If you do want to tech for the Lugia matchup, you can play something like the Temple of Sinnoh. That's totally fine. However, the Jamming Tower is very good against any deck that has or Seal Stone. Also great against Gardevoir, as they'll be trying to sometimes attack with things like Driftloon or Screamtail with the Bravery Charm. Also great to get this down early to turn off things like the TM evolution. So yep, I think that Jamming Tower is the one Stadium you definitely want to play. However, if you are looking to improve a matchup like the V-Star one, you could potentially cut an Iono for something like that Temple of Sinnoh. Last up here, we do have the energies here, 7-3. 7-3 makes a lot of sense right now. I know that some lists in the past have played 7-2. However, especially with item lock existing, you want to naturally draw into those fire energies. So 3 fire energy definitely makes even more sense right now. And here is the full deck list. We got 3-3 Regidrago VSTAR, 3 Teal Mass Ogerpon, 1 Giratina Fezandipiti, Cleffa, Radiant Charizard, Kyurem, 2 Dragapult, 1 Squawk, 1 Latias, 1 Hisuian Goodra, and 1 Budew Pokemon. This is currently the Pokemon lineup. As I said a little bit earlier in the video, I don't think something like the Exeggutor is necessarily very good right now in a format where there are so many evolution decks. They're going to be, in my opinion, less turbo decks in this format because it's going to be way more setup and slow based. So something like that Exeggutor loses a lot of what made it special. So that is going to be one of the cards I don't play. I do think that 2 Dragapult is nice. 1, because you don't really want to play Terror Orb, I think, right now, just because of the threat of the Budew, and also just being able to naturally draw into Dragapult and then research it away just feels so good. Another nice thing about playing the Budew, it's just another 1-price Pokemon that you can hide behind, which is also great. Just being able to hide behind that and then start the 2-price trade with your Regidrago feels really good. Yeah, this is the list. If you're interested in the deck list, make sure to go check out the description. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Post them in the comments. If there's any cards that you are considering as well, feel free to let me know. There were a couple cards that I personally did think about playing. One of them was the Poppy, which was a supporter card that can move energies from an Ogerpon onto something like the Regidrago. I also considered as well the Power Glass, but I felt like it would be a little bit difficult to find them, and you'd also have to get the energy into the discard pile to actually get use out of Power Glass. So I thought about them a little bit, and I was, kind of curious to see, how they would work. However, I think they're a little bit too niche, but something to consider moving forward. But anyways, that is going to do it for the video. Let me know what you think of this deck. I personally still think it's going to be one of the stronger decks in the standard format. But yeah, With that being said, thanks so much for all the support as always. I appreciate it. We're going to be doing a booster box giveaway in about a week for 10,000 subscribers, hoping to get there soon. So we're going to be doing one in celebration for that. So if you want to enter, make sure you're subscribed. I'll be posting about it soon. But anyways, this is Smart TCG. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll speak with you guys again soon. Peace out.